If you're a small business owner, you'll know just what it's like to be the chief everything officer. HR, payroll, employee benefits. Well, Gusto can do all of that for you. Gusto is online payroll and benefits software built for small businesses. It's all in one, remote friendly, and incredibly easy to use. It's quick and simple to switch to Gusto. Just transfer your existing data to get up and running fast. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/lockedonsoccer and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's gusto.com/lockedonsoccer.
The world's biggest soccer tournament has arrived, and you can trade the entire tournament on Kalshi. On Kalshi, you can trade every match from the opening stage all the way to the final. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code CUP26 to get $10 when you trade 10. KALSHI Kalshi. Trade the beautiful game. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory.
Are all batteries the same? That's like asking if all soccer players are the same. Take Messi, the most decorated player ever. Is there any other player who has achieved that? No, just him. Now take Duracell. Is there any other battery with power boost ingredients inside? No, just Duracell. Remember, goats only trust goats because they're built different. And Messi only trusts Duracell.
Hello everyone, I'm Chris Wynn and welcome to another How We're the podcast. And I'm not sure if it's due to the World Cup or not wanting to leave last season behind, or just simply because we've carried on with our daily podcasts like we're in the middle of the season. But this summer is already flying by. And to give you a peek behind the curtain, although you might be listening to this a few days later, we are actually recording this on the day that the fixtures have been released. So we've had a number of hours to digest the big dates in the calendar next season. But once again, we asked for your questions for today's Q&A, and you have once again delivered, so much so that this is likely to be a two-parter, unless the lads are bored of talking about Sunderland, which I somehow don't think is the case. Because first up, to provide all of your answers, we have Andrew Smithson. Hello, Andrew.
Hello, mate. It'll definitely be at least a two-parter. The only question is, do we end up doing parts 3, 4, and 5, I think?
Well, we've had that many questions. We genuinely, there's a couple of questions we could just have a whole podcast devoted to it, to be honest. But and also joining us today, we have someone who actually turned down a podcast offer the other day because I quote, "There are levels." It's little Johnny Hawley. Hello, Johnny.
Hello, Chris. We've gone a bit Taskmaster there as well with little Johnny Hawley getting introduced.
I can do it high-pitched, but I thought it might just spoil everything.
I'm not bringing a sort of woodwind section of musical accompaniments to the podcast anytime soon, though, so don't expect the Hawley section to be making an appearance anytime soon.
Well, I'm surprised because you always have your guitar on show that listeners can't hear, but you always, I'll just leave it just next to us, just behind us, just so everyone can see, just in case this goes out as a video.
Yeah, one day when it becomes a video pod, Chris, I'm going to start reaping the rewards of all of this that I've been, hiding the Easter eggs in the background. But as long as they don't also see the collection of random shit on top of my wardrobe that's just above my head right now, I'll have to tidy a couple of bits up, but we'll get there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to those days if we ever do videos and the recording starts with you just, oh, sorry, lads, I was just strumming away there on the guitar.
I was just going to say, it might be a very different podcast, that, like.
Yes, anyway, swiftly moving on. Very quickly, Andrew, we mentioned we are recording on the day that the fixtures have been released, and you were present at the fixtures breakfast. So how was that?
It was really good fun. Really enjoyed it. Kevin Ball and Florent Gasolfi and Jamie, one of the senior people at the foundation, were doing a bit of a talk-in before the fixtures were announced, and they were all good value. And the only problem was, I think Gav and I let the side down. We because of the hot weather, we both turned up in shorts. Everybody else was like properly nicely turned out, suited and booted, or, looking like they were doing a smart casual fashion parade for Marks and Spencer's or whoever. And there was me and him looking proper, like we've just come off the beach or something.
Is that Rocket Report? Is it Raggy Arse Rovers? Is that turn up there?
Basically, yeah, I think people must have just looked at us and thought we were like part of the clean-up team afterwards or something like that. But it was good fun, really good fun. I enjoyed it.
Some decent bait on?
There was, drinks and bacon sarnies, sausage sarnies. I'm vegan, so I managed to get one of the ones that had been hidden away for us, us annoying vegans. But good feed, loads of people hanging around. Gav's one of them, Chris, he knows half of Sunderland. So, like, just every 2 minutes, somebody was passing on, like, "All right, Gav, how you doing? Nice to see you." So it was great, and I tell you what, Florian Gasolfi's, he's a pretty funny guy. Like, he spoke a lot of sense and said a lot of really important things. He was having a bit crap on in that as well. He could have easily done a quick 5-minute spot of stand up, like.
Well, so he wouldn't get paid off in the Millview Club, would he not?
Oh no, they'd be happy to have him back. Like, I came away just thinking, "Oh, this guy's the man."
Yeah. Well, Andrew and Gav did, of course, record a podcast straight after the Fixtures Breakfast, and that went out on Friday. So if you haven't given that a listen, go back and give that half an hour of your time, because it was brilliant and a really good summary of the fixtures. But Johnny, Ipswich away to start with, and the Mags are later on in the season. But any patterns or anything you noticed within the fixtures that look interesting?
Well, obviously the headline ones, like you say, the derbies and stuff like that, the first game, last game. I don't love first game and last game both being away. If you're being pernickety, you'd like at least one of those to be at home. Obviously, we got both last season, so, maybe it's a bit of balancing of the scales. But I don't love being a promoted team's first home game of the season. Tends to be a bad time to play them, but, we've got to play everybody twice eventually, so not overly fussed about any of it, to be honest. I suppose, again, if you're being a little bit picky as a fan, you want one of Boxing Day or New Year's Day or the fixtures around them to be at home, and both of those are away as well. So a little bit of a shame the way that some of the home and away splits have fallen, but otherwise, the only other thing is I'm not used to playing the Mags that late in the season. Something about playing them at home on what's going to be probably quite a nice, warm and sunny bank holiday weekend. It just doesn't feel right. It should be freezing cold and a bit miserable, and there should be a non-zero chance that we're on our looking for our first win of the season. That's what I'm used to. So yeah, it's all a bit there. It's all changed. But hey, as a European side these days, we've got to get used to sort of fixture congestion and odd kind of kickoff times. So bring it on.
Yeah, that's it. And with the first three games being Ipswich, Fulham and Brentford, followed by Arsenal and Manchester City, if we're top of the league after the first three games, we'll, of course, have everybody saying we haven't played anybody after the first three. But Andrew, just one little interesting thing before we move into the questions. I was looking at, there's a stretch between Arsenal at the end of March and Man City, of course, last day of the season. But if you look at that, we've got Ipswich at home, Fulham away, Forest away, the visitors at home, Brighton away, Bournemouth at home, Leeds away. Now, they're all, I mean, it's hard to tell now, of course, but, in between Arsenal and Man City, there's no Liverpool's in there, there's no Chelsea's in there, there's none of your recognised kind of what you'd consider to be your top six. It's not a bad run of games in that last couple of months, is it? On paper, at least.
No, I mean, the whole thing on paper seems a lot less daunting than last season, Chris, just because we've now shown that we can compete at the level. But yeah, that's a nice little run. The only problem is, of course, we're going to have like the Europa semi-finals to squeeze in. There's probably an FA Cup semi-final or quarter-final to fit in that little block. So we're going to be busy. Like, we're going to have plenty of games at that point of the season. So yeah, probably, by the time we'll play the Mags, and I bet you the police are over the moon that that's on a bank holiday weekend.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
crikey, that's going to be carnage, that. But by the time we're playing the Mags and we've already, secured our top 10 finish, we'll probably just put the kids out against them, just write it off. It doesn't really matter, that one, does it?
Yeah, the police will probably change that game to 9 o'clock in the morning or something like that. But we'll wait and see how all that plays out. But just very quickly, Andrew, just because I think with the way the pods have been scheduled and the way we've recorded things, I'm not sure we've had much of a chance to comment on the sad news recently about Eric Roy, who did play for Sunderland back in the Peter Reid days. Had some fantastic games. I think the most famous one's probably when he was in the middle of midfield with Paul Thirlwell against Chelsea in that fantastic 4-1 win, where everything we hit in that first half went in the back of the net. And once again, as this season, we steamrolled Chelsea. But real classy midfielder and seemingly a very good coach and a very, well, that's sometimes harsh to say, nice man, but from all accounts, everyone says what a cracking fella he was as well. So sad news, Andrew.
It is, mate. Yeah, it was really upsetting to see, and bless him, he was relatively young, and I think he'd not wanted to talk about his condition much. He wanted to deal with it privately, so it came as a shock. I mean, Chris, we love talking about that era, and he was a good player, a good man. So it was a bit. It was a bit of a hammer blow. That just, funnily enough, quite nice that our last home game was against Chelsea, because we will always remember him for that famous Stadium of Light afternoon, which was also against Chelsea. And I did look at the fixtures this morning and trying to see when we were inviting them back to the Stadium of Light, and just I was thinking about him a little bit this morning. So yeah, really sad. You and me are the same age, and there'll be lots of other people, Chris, that remember him and will now just be wishing his family, lots of love, and we'll be wishing them all the best as they try and come to terms with it.
Yeah, and goes out saying that all our thoughts at Roker Report and our other podcast go out to his family and friends, because, like I said, very sad news that came this week. But just quickly as well, just talking about recent podcasts, just quickly, Andrew, because if people haven't listened to it, we had George Clark on recently, the Restoration Man, and fantastic hearing some of his old stories about growing up in Washington and some of his new projects he's got going on in Sunderland. But absolutely brilliant to talk to him, wasn't it?
It was amazing. I really, really enjoyed that one. He was proper speaking my language, because you know what I'm like about Sunderland and development in the city and that. But sometimes you get guests on and they've only got like a short amount of time, or maybe they're a bit guarded because they don't know who you are. Just from the off, he was just more than happy to chat, wasn't he? And have a bit crack. And before hitting record, we had a couple of funny stories about, when he was growing up and he visited his grandparents, and I just
Drinking in the Bluebell.
well, yeah, that was it, because he had family in that part of town, and that would be a big part of the weekend. Visit the relatives, go to the pub, go to the match, which is a story lots of listeners will recognise. It might not be the Bluebell, it might not be full well, but it would be, I go and visit the family, we all go to the game, and from different parts of the area. It was lovely, and it was genuinely nice having a bit crack on with them.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to that, go back and give it a listen, because like I said, it was fantastic. Some of his takes on, especially growing up in Washington and all of that. So fantastic stuff. But and apologies, Johnny, but I'm going to stick with Andrew again, because the first question is specifically for Andrew. It's from Martin Bell, and he's asking, has Andrew finished his decorating yet?
Are you the Martin Bell I used to go to school with?
I know he can't. I don't think he's going to be able to give you a quick answer.
I was thinking about doing a weird voice there and answering for you.
You never know. You might be driving to work in the car and going, "Hi, it's me, it's me."
I hope he is, if it is him.
Yeah. Better still, he's on the bus and there's some little soul next to him. What on earth? I've got to be honest, I can't remember which decorating it was because there's nearly always something, like the painting of the Forth Road Bridge. I think that's what my house is like at the moment. And to be fair to her, my darling wife has done the majority of the work, so I'm not going to claim credit. But at the moment, we're trying to sort stuff in the garden. I'm looking out the window there, and there's also, I should have got George Clark to help out. Really, I should have seen if he had any contacts to help with some of these jobs because the list never ends. So Martin, if you're free this weekend, get a pair of gardening gloves on, get yourself down, bring a paintbrush, more than welcome.
And a crate of Stella, and you're sorted. But yeah, I think that's why I record so many podcasts. I spend most of the time doing this so I can get out of doing jobs like that. I'm completely honest. But anyway, let's move into some of the questions we've got being sent in because we've had some crackers. And Johnny, finally coming back to you, and I'll come back to you with a non-decorating question. Jack Asprey, on the day that we're recording as well, this works as well because he said, is it wrong that I'm more excited about the fixtures announcements than I am about the World Cup? I'm not ready for the Sunderland train to stop. How are you on the World Cup, and especially with the fixtures coming out? Is it turning your attention?
It's a funny one, actually, because yes, but in a very different way, where I don't actually really care about the Premier League fixtures that much this season. Because, we had the novelty of that last year, oh my God, first Premier League fixtures in so long. Now I'm just like, bring on August the 28th, man. I want to see the Europa League draw. That's what I want. I don't want to stop talking about the fact that we're in Europe. It's okay. The World Cup is pretty big. I'll give them that. The World Cup's probably slightly more prestigious than Europa League. If we're all being brutally honest, we can admit that. We're big enough people. But
respectfully disagree, but go on, carry on.
Would Granit Xhaka rather have scored that penalty for Switzerland or score one for us in Frankfurt?
We can all pretend the answer to
that. Exactly. But yeah, so obviously I am getting swept away with the World Cup now. England have started and actually started well. So I'm not a sort of, I want to ignore England completely. But yeah, with Sunderland, I'm just, can everyone keep talking about the fact that a promoted team qualified for Europe and we're in Europe for the first time in 53 years, please, guys? So I totally share the desire for the Sunderland train to be the only kind of show in town. But I'm like, okay, Premier League fixtures are great, but bring on Europe. That's what we all really want.
Yeah, talking about lack of enthusiasm for the Premier League fixtures. Just wait till next season when we qualify for the Conference League and everyone's like, oh, for God's sake. Not the conference. Can't be bothered with the Conference League. Load of crap. What a waste of time that is. Anyway, just keeping on the World Cup theme, Andrew, and it's a bit of a loaded question. This is from Tenchi Lad, and because I'm not sure if it was me, I'd struggle with this because he's asking, how do you feel the lads out in the World Cup have done for their country so far? So obviously talking about Sunderland players, and how mad is it that we've got more players there than Real Madrid? If I'm completely honest, I've watched pretty much the full opening game, and since then I've only watched highlights, and I've watched the England game. So for me, it's quite difficult to gauge how people are getting on, although you see the big headlines.
Well, I'm in a similar situation to you. The England game's the only one I've seen from start to finish. I've listened to a lot on the radio, and it is a nice buzz when the commentator says, "Oh, here comes Broby off the bench or whatever. Broby, of course, did well at Sunderland last season." It does give you an odd little sense of pride. A mate of mine is collecting the Panini stickers. He must have had a lottery win or something that he's keeping to himself.
It's a last set, isn't it? Last Panini one? Yeah.
Apparently so. I don't know if he knew that when he got into it or if he thought, this is going to be one last attempt at it. But it was nice when, I can't believe I'm saying this at 44, he was showing us his swaps pile. And at the bottom it says, Sunderland, like the club, the player. And again, I don't know why, but I got like a little, that's a nice little buzz, that.
Was
So
it shiny though?
no, he didn't.
Ah.
He wasn't daft. He's not walking around with a load of shinies in his pocket. He might get set upon by a few lads from year 5 or whatever. It is.
Thing is, I don't
like-
think the kids collect them. It's all adults now. It's our age who collects them.
Yeah, he's getting done by a group of 50-year-old
Yeah.
financiers who live in the city.
They can smell the shiny from 50 yards.
It is nice. It is enjoyable, and to just remind ourselves that Sunderland aren't bad these days. As for how they're performing, I know Xhaka scored a penalty. I think Aldrete had a bit of a tough time against the US. I think Paraguay took a bit of a beating.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, they all come back after this summer either fuming about something with a point to prove, or absolutely buzzing, having done well for the country and keen to continue it. And if ever I do find myself with half an hour and a bit of time to watch footy, if there's a Sunderland player doing their stuff for the country, I'll be giving them my support.
Yeah, actually, I missed that Dutch game when Brian Brobby came on. But it's funny because my boss in the States, he's been keeping in touch with the World Cup, and he was saying when he came on from the bench, I think it was English commentators. I want to say it was Darren Fletcher, maybe, and Owen Hargreaves, potentially. But they were going on about saying what a fantastic season he's had and at Sunderland.
I was copied into an email. This might have been the game where Guy Mowbray had a dig at Alan Shearer as well? Or was that that might have been Tolby? But again, hey, listen, if commentators are talking about Sunderland and bigging us up, and your boss is like, his ears are pricking up because he's heard the mention of Sunderland, it's all good, isn't it?
Yeah. I was just wondering whether Brian Brobby was booked for entering the pitch. Just for doing nothing, just for touching the turf, yellow card. But anyway, on a theme of what Andrew was talking about there, Johnny, Steve Richards asks, do you think that having 12 players on World Cup duty will be detrimental to how we prepare for the new season? He said, no rest over the summer and delayed return for some of our key players. Hardly the best prep. So how do you think the World Cup might impact us?
Well, all good teams are in the same boat. So is it going to be a big difference maker? I mean, if you're one of the elite clubs who's got double figures players going to the World Cup, then it's likely that you're going to be competing sort of, in the European positions in the Premier League and in continental competitions against a load of other teams who have also sent a load of players off to the World Cup. So I don't think it's going to be too much. I actually can't keep a straight face anymore. No, on a serious note, I do think that is partly true that, it's not just us, right? Everybody in the world is going to be in a similar position where they've had at least some of the squad involved, whether, obviously it differs club to club on the exact numbers and whether you've got, like, say, Granit Xhaka is the captain of Switzerland. So as long as they're in the tournament, he's playing every minute, whereas Talby starts the tournament on the bench. So there's variables and what have you, but I don't think it's going to make a huge difference because the reason we've got so many players at the tournament is because they're so good that they get picked, and therefore are you saying we'd be in a better position if we had worse footballers because they'd be well rested? I'll take a slightly tired Granit Xhaka or Noah Siddiqui over a fully fit, insert name of subpar midfielder here, Bruno Guimaraes or whoever. So yeah, look, I think we've got to view it as a positive, haven't we? It's just yet another indicator of how far we've come as a club. You think the last World Cup we had one player there, and it was Jewison Bennett. So I'd rather be in the position we are now, if I'm honest.
Absolutely. And I think probably considering the World Cup, we've got another couple of questions to go on that topic. But before we finish that off, I think that's time to take a quick break, so we'll be back very soon.
If your business runs on 5 different apps, 12 browser tabs, and one spreadsheet that everyone's afraid to touch, it's probably time for Odoo. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that connects every part of your business into one powerful, easy-to-use platform. So instead of wasting time switching between disconnected systems, your entire business works together in real time. Your team moves faster, your data stays accurate, and you can actually focus on growing your business. Let one unified system run your entire business. From the first opportunity to the final payment, everything works together in one place. Whether you're a small business or managing a large operation, Odoo gives you one flexible platform built to grow with you. Learn more at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
LinkedIn is pretty amazing at helping you grow your small business. We cannot make your email response time faster. We can help you sell, market, and hire in one place. We cannot help you find space for your 3 desk drinks. Why do you have 3? And while we can't help you find the perfect volume for your presentation video, LinkedIn can help you find the perfect audience for your business. Grow your small business on LinkedIn. Learn more at linkedin.com/smallbusiness.
You have one new message. Translating. Disney and Pixar's Hoppers is now available on Disney+.
You could say that again.
Critics are calling it Pixar's funniest movie ever and a wildly entertaining ride. Blizzard Potato. It's certified fresh and verified hot.
Now we party.
This is incredible!
Wow, I am clearing the rest of the day.
Disney and Pixar's Hoppers, now available on Disney+. Rated PG.
And welcome back to Highway the podcast, and we're still in the theme of the World Cup. And actually, Andrew, I just wanted to build off that last question with one of my own, just about the potential impact of the World Cup next season. Now, it might be the case that these players have played all summer, so actually hit the ground running in terms of the start of the season. But do you think it's potentially something the club might think about when they think about the January window or something like that, where actually during the season, they might say some of these players might dip or need to be brought out for a few weeks? You know, I suppose in similar ways to, we had players brought out who went to AFCON, were they brought back in immediately? Did they get a week off? Did they get will they be looking at that further down the line in the season?
I think so. Given the way the club are so meticulous about everything, they'll be tailoring each individual person's pre-season and workload during the season to fit their circumstances. Because, as Johnny mentioned, Talby's World Cup experience might be very different to Granit Xhaka's. Somebody like Roofs or Broby, who are part of the Netherlands squad, who you imagine will progress quite far, are going to have a very different, a different experience to I don't know. I'm not going to name a country because I'll just get egg on my face when they become the dark horses. But there might be some lads who get sent home fairly quickly if they get eliminated from the tournament. So it won't just be a blanket thing. And I do suspect in pre-season we're going to see players coming back at very different times. And yeah, as the season goes, we'll be using all of the resources we've got to monitor players. Sunderland have been very good in that in recent years, in bringing people behind the scenes to do jobs that they might, like the job title might look a bit over the top or a bit wordy, but it's people who are experts on nutrition or rehab or recovery. All of those people will have input to just make sure that these players are right. The Europa League is an extra dimension to that. We saw this season, didn't we? We regularly talked about how Lebris didn't have a starting 11 as such. He had a starting group. And if somebody didn't play a particular game, we didn't need to consider them as being dropped as such. I think we'll see a lot of that this year. Players will come in and out. And Chris, you're dead right. I mean, I don't know if you're allowed to be asking your own questions here or not. Like, I mean, I suppose that's a presenter's privilege, but it's a fair point. There might be times when players are given a bit of a break. You know, maybe they're told to like have a few days off training or spend a bit more time with their family. I think as well, we've got a couple of really long international breaks this season, which will also impact the flow. So there's going to be all these things in the mix. I'm just pleased that Sunderland seem to respect that. It's not old school where managers would just say things like, should be pleased to be playing football. They're getting paid. It's their job. I think our attitude and our approach to it will reflect the difficulties.
Yeah, you're right. We do seem to be quite big and quite good on looking after the players and putting them first. But Johnny, on the World Cup, again, I suppose it depends on how much you've seen and how much you've seen full games. But Michael Paul asks, are there any players in this round of World Cup games that have impressed you enough that you'd like them to sign for Sunderland?
Can we not fall into the age-old trap of signing overpriced players after a World Cup, please?
I was thinking Gary Breen, to be honest. He looks a cracking. Remember when Real Madrid wanted him after the 2002 World Cup?
Oh yeah, I mean Christian Riveros was such a resounding success that let's just repeat that loads. But without being cynical, it's a good question to be fair because I suppose it's like a chance to see a different standard of play. So you can't. It's interesting to try and judge players based on it because so many of the.
We'll be scouting it.
Oh, well, of course, exactly. We'd be stupid not to, because as much as you can fall into a trap of signing players based on a good World Cup, also, a lot of the best players in the world are going to be at the World Cup. So if you're not scouting there, then you are missing a trick. But I think it's particularly interesting for us because we play such a almost Premier League friendly style of football that I think a lot of the teams in the World Cup just don't play. So for us, I think it would be even harder than for a lot of teams, certainly on the continent, to be able to judge players. Because you think of the England-Croatia game, obviously most people will have watched that. That felt a lot more like a Premier League game to me, watching it, than anything else in the World Cup, really. It was very physical, a lot of counter-attacks, set-piece reliance, which, helped England out at points in the game. So that's much more similar to what we'd be trying to do ourselves going forward. Whereas I think a lot of the games have been obviously impacted by the heat. They've been a bit slower. There's been a lot more of an emphasis on keeping possession compared to it's a little bit like a throwback to the Premier League of 10 years ago almost. If you go through the stats and the vast majority of games, there's been, 60 plus, 65% possessions for one side against the other. Obviously, part of that's because there's really weak teams in the groups of this World Cup. But all that being said, I've been weirdly impressed by is it Bouadi? I think his name is the central midfield player for Morocco. I think played really, really well against Brazil. But unfortunately, I think he may have already been spotted because I'm sure I read that Arsenal are interested in him and have been weighing up an offer. So. Yeah, I don't know how much help that's going to be to Florent and the boys. I could have told you to pass the message on this morning, Andrew. By the way, this lad that the champions are after, he might be pretty good actually. But yeah, he's the one that I'd never really heard of him before, and yeah, I was like, oh bloody hell, he looks good. And you do that classic thing, the World Cup, where you're like, oh, he looks good. Let's see, okay, how old is he? Where does he play? And there's always disappointment when you're like, oh, this guy looks class, and you're like, oh, he's 33 and he plays in Saudi Arabia. Ah, right, okay. Not very exciting. This lad's, young lad, plays in Europe. Arsenal are going to bid for him. Oh, well, dream dead.
Yeah. It was like in 1990 whenever all top clubs go, this Roger Miller looks good, doesn't he, for Cameroon? No, he's in his 40s.
Yeah, what a prospect.
Yeah. But moving on, we're going to look at some homegrown questions And we're going to start with you, Andrew, on these, because Toby Barnett, he sent in, and it kind of links to the World Cup, but he says, who do you think the next Sunderland player, and he says current or former player, could be to represent England? He says, I'm so proud of seeing so many of the lads at the World Cup, but a part of me wishes we had one of the three Lions. Don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised in 4 years' time if Luke O'Nien makes it as the third goalkeeper or something like that. But we've obviously got Chris Rigg springs to mind, but I'm struggling to think of any former players at the moment.
Yeah, there's not many former players who are knocking around the Premier League at the moment. I would love to see Chris Rigg play for England, and I think it's possible because he's very highly regarded and he's gone through all the age groups. There would be a little part of me, though, a little bit cautious and want to kind of wrap him up in cotton wool because, if England get beat or there's some sort of catastrophe and then everybody suddenly remembers to hate the England squad and the burning effigies of that, I'd want to be like putting my arm around Chris Rigg and say, "Oh, I don't mean you, Chris. It's the rest of them." So it would be a little bit like a double-edged sword, and you'd be proud for them, and it would be great for the club. It would be great for the staff at the academy to have some more products make it through to the England team. You would always be a little bit cautious because you know what it's like when a World Cup comes around. There's always like a load of people going off it if England aren't successful. I like watching Pickford play. I still get a sense of pride when he plays, and and in the montages beforehand, they'll have like a couple of clips of Washington or Sunderland, and show where the players are from. Chris Rigg, I think, is the obvious one, without wanting to be disrespectful. I'm not sure we've got anybody else at the club just yet who's far enough down that path for it to be a reasonable prediction at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And on again homegrown theme that we're talking about, Johnny, Charlie sent in a question where he said, with the sad news of Dennis Serkin and Dan Neil leaving and the anticipated departures of players potentially like Patterson, I've been thinking about our homegrown quarter of players and whether we have a problem there. And actually, I haven't checked this, but Charlie says that UEFA rules state that as a minimum 8 places are reserved exclusively for locally trained players. But he says, I'm struggling to see where our 8 homegrown players come from unless we're putting out the squad with younger academy prospects. Do we have a problem here? And if so, how do we address it?
Couple of things to address with that one. First, though, I'll just say, quick answer for the previous question. If we're including previous Sunderland players, Joe Bellingham has got a chance.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
He's the only other one. Because I agree with you, Andrew. I don't think anyone outside of Rigg at the club at the minute is in line for it. But he could be the other one.
Just before we move off that topic, in a parallel universe somewhere, let's say Anthony Patterson is our number 1 for a season and does okay, has a good season in the Premier League. Would he be in a shout as our third keeper or something like that for this World Cup?
He probably not. Oh, that's a good question. Probably not this one. Just because Henderson's won a trophy at Crystal Palace and James Trafford went for 40 million. So those things unfortunately count more than performances sometimes. But he maybe would have been like an outside shout for the next Euros or something to travel.
He would have taken Steele's place.
He's good at card tricks like that. But back to the actual question. Obviously talking about players potentially playing for England, that does link to the homegrown stuff. So it's 8 players who were homegrown in the nation. So 8 players who've spent at least 3 consecutive years at an English club between the age of whatever it is, 15 and 21 or something. So 4 from the nation and 4 from the club. Now
he's pretended he hasn't memorised this from Footy Manager.
That's it. That is exactly where I memorised it from, Chris. That is exact. I've had to have this exact dilemma myself, season in, season out with my Sunderland team. If we follow my trajectory, we'll be winning the league soon.
All right, Reggie, get on with
it. So the four that need to be from England, I don't think we'll struggle with. Like, Dan Ballard will count for that because of obviously being at Arsenal. There's others you can go through the squad. I mean, obviously, there's players who count for both. Simon Moore, Simon Moore would be another one. I kind of think of everyone through the squad off the top of my head, but there'll be a few. And then obviously you've got Chris Rigg is the main one who counts for both, right? If you come through at Sunderland, obviously that is in England. So then you count for both, but there's a slight twist on it as well because any players, I forget the exact, there's a couple of caveats, but basically like under 21s who've been at the club for a few years don't need to be registered in the squad. So with somebody like Chris Rigg, it's a bit strange because he would help our registration requirements because he's homegrown at the club and the nation, but we don't actually need to register him in the squad. So, and he could play anyway. So it's like, okay, you put Chris Rigg in, so then he gives us a homegrown slot. But if you take him out, then we just don't need to name him in the squad anyway. And so it's all a bit strange. I'll be honest, I'm not sure how they're gonna go about it really, because as I say, the homegrown in the country, that's pretty easy. If we desperately needed slots, sign or loan in somebody who's come through an English academy, just to make up a bit of squad space. There's hundreds of those knocking about if you want them. The ones from our own club is obviously a very different story. Now, short of launching a bid to re-sign Jordan Pickford and replace, one of our backup keepers in the squad, or bringing Jordan Henderson back, those are few and far between. Certainly players who are going to be anywhere near the level that we would need for them to be to actually contribute to the squad. Outside of Henderson and Pickford, what we're going to do, go and re-sign John Egan, get Ballymumba back in. Like, there's not really many directions we can turn for that one. So I imagine what's probably going to end up happening, unless the club have got some really wacky plans up the sleeves for the transfer market, I suspect we'll just end up naming a squad that's below 25 players and rely on not filling those slots with anybody full stop and just having a slightly smaller squad because, as I say, with the under 21s not needing to be registered, you can rotate in a few academy lads through the games if you need to fill in spots on the bench. And also, it's great experience for any of them who do make a squad because, there's not many clubs in the country can say to their academy players, oh, you can be in European matchday squads if you play for us. So, yeah, I think it's not so much that we've painted ourselves into a corner. It's more just an unfortunate side effect of our overly quick rise to this point, really, is, most clubs would have had at least a season or two to get their ducks in a row thinking about this kind of thing before progressing to that next step. We've just shot up from the Championship and done it straight away. So, we're playing catch up a little bit in that sense, but I don't think it's going to be a huge problem because Labris likes a smaller squad by and large anyway. So, yeah, I think we'll get around it by just ignoring it and not naming a full squad is essentially my opinion.
Yeah, and Johnny will be back on future podcasts to talk about more Football Manager strategy.
Do not threaten me with a good time, Chris. Do not tempt me.
Well, just to keep on that question, because I think it is going to be a big deal this summer, because I think people are going to keep looking at it and looking who we're signing based on this, Andrew. Because John Briggs asks, which English players could we sign due to the quota? And I think there was a link with Somerville, whether that was just because of the quota or not, we might not be sure. But is it also possible that coming into the strategy that, and I think we've tried it, Alexis has moved out on loan, but to bring in young players from Europe at age 17, 18, whatever, that they have had that 3 years with the club by the time, we might be on the verge of being in Europe, or hopefully being in Europe every year from now until whenever. But do you think that's going to be part of the strategy as well as targeting, like John Briggs says, potentially England players?
Well, Somerville not only works in terms of quota, but we always love to be linked to a relegated player. So that kills two birds with one stone. The players already on the books who have now been here a few years, who we're thinking about? We're thinking about Hamir and that. Are the club really going to want to put them in this? I think Johnny's right in that we don't have to name homegrown players in order to allow us to name more foreign players or anything. So yeah, I think we'll just go with the first team squad as it is anyway, and be short, unless of course Michael Proctor is having a few quiet words in Reggie's ear and just reminding him, "Oh, boss, I used to play football a bit. If you give us a pre-season, I might have a few games for us in Europe." It's always going to be a factor, the factor in the Europa League, but I don't think our recruitment will hinge on being in the Europa League. I just think we'll still look at the same type of players from the same markets before, and if they help fill a quota, brilliant. But if they don't, they're not going to walk away from a quality player or bring in somebody inferior or who they think is inferior just to make up this group. They're probably looking at the core of the team and who's going to be in Europe. Luke O'Nine's a name that's just popped in my head as one who would count as a homegrown but not club grown. They'll just look at those players and think, yeah, we can rely on these lads and get them to do the job. You might find, if push comes to shove, you might find there's a few more under 21s and academy players getting a run out in the league, the League Cup, if we're too stretched, rather than shoehorn people into a European or a Premier League squad.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I think everybody's going to be trying to do the maths on this throughout the summer and see what players we've got and how many we need. But another one on the subject of Europe, Johnny, Mike Sue has sent one in saying, now that Europa League has been attained and we can conceivably dream of a Champions League berth in seasons to come. And it was interesting, Florent Gasolfi's been talking recently saying that it was maybe one that got away this season, which was not something that we expected him to say. But Mike Sue says he's curious to know, out of all the destinations and venues across Europe, what is your personal number one dream stadium for the lads to play in, and why?
San Siro, for reasons that should be incredibly obvious to anyone who's ever been at any Sunderland game in their entire life. But yes, I would quite like to see not just one, but several thousand Mackems in Milan, please. I'm doing a little, ritual every night before I go to bed just to try and increase the chances of this happening. I'm setting up a shrine to Milan on my wall, decking everything out in red and black. But no, not just because of the wind-up factor, but also San Siro's getting demolished soon, isn't it? Or basically rebuilt from scratch, I think.
Just get the Sunderland lads in. We'll start the demolition for them.
Was it Scotland at the last game at the old Wembley? We're like, oh no, don't worry, lads, we'll take those goals down for you. That can be us. But yeah, it's just a properly iconic footballing venue, and also like a stadium where, when I was a kid, 20 odd years ago or whatever, and you sort of having that wondrous introduction to the wide world of football beyond Sunderland and England, and you're looking into all these great teams and clubs and stadiums and players and what have you, and San Siro is one of those where you're like, oh, imagine seeing Sunderland play there. It'll never happen, but my God, imagine it. So now that it's a realistic possibility and it could happen, I'm absolutely desperate for it, because, as I say, it would wind them lot up the road up, and it's a chance to play in one of the cathedrals of football before it's gone forever, unfortunately. So yeah, double pleasure for us if we manage to get there. And beyond that, just anywhere in Eastern Europe. Give me an Eastern European away day, please. I need it. Give me Sparta Prague, and I'll be happy.
Yeah, it's a long way from the Wham Stadium and things like that, isn't it? These conversations, but
Kicks the arse off Fleetwood on New Year's Day. I'll tell you that for free.
Absolutely. But Andrew, very quickly, have you got a stadium you fancy?
Genuinely, just the one with the biggest away allocation, so we can get as many of us into the ground to watch it.
Well, it leads us on to our very last question for part one. Marley Hannon asks an interesting question. I'm going to start with you, Andrew, because this is going to be a big one because I'm already thinking about this one. Marley Hannon asks, when we play away in Europe, what's your opinion on people going without tickets just to soak in the atmosphere pre-match, then watch the game in the pub? Because from my point of view, with family circumstances and all this, I'm not able to get season ticket. I'm not able to get as many games as I'd like. There's not going to be no way I'm going to get a ticket unless there's some sort of miracle happens that I'm just not going to be able to get one. So, but I'm now already planning to make sure that I'm able to get there. So I'm going to be one of those people. But what's your opinion on it, Andrew?
Maybe in years to come, and if Sunderland become regular European competitors, there'll not be that desire to do it. But yeah,
so just what a ridiculous sentence to be able to say.
I know, but
I just keep having them moments of like, what is happening?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, this time around, because it's new and we've wanted it so long, I'm like you, Chris. I'm gonna want to do at least one trip with or without tickets and just be part of that traveling army. I think it'll be brilliant. Be an amazing experience. And all jokes aside, when I said I want a team with a big allocation, hopefully we do get a couple of places that are easy to get to and have got plenty of accommodation, plenty of space, because I can see like a proper 15, 20,000 mad Sunderland fans descending on somewhere.
Yeah. What do you reckon about all that, Johnny?
I will be there. There's no chance that I'll get a ticket either. I mean, I've even got a season ticket and I still don't think I've got a cat in hell's chance. But that first European away day for 53 years, there's not a force on heaven or earth could stop me going to wherever it is. I don't care if it's Milan, Porto, Ljubljana, somewhere
lovely place, Ljubljana, by the way.
But you know what I mean? Somewhere deep in the Arctic Circle. I do not care one jot. I'll be there. And Andrew, I think your 15, 20,000 estimates, they could be on the conservative side, For the very first one, I think there could be 40 to 50,000 descending on some poor random European town or city.
Well, that's it. To take it a step further, Marley Hannon's asking the question about going without tickets. It's actually going to be struggling to get there full stop.
Yeah.
Like flights because the flights are going to just go and it's going to be whoever snaps them up. And then what do you do? I mean, there's going to be some people walking basically.
If you set off now, you might get there for our final league phase game.
Well, yeah, I mean, I saw the plans for the coach for Love Supreme for one of the pre-season friendlies that, if you do it overnight, trips twice and basically try and keep on the coach, then there'll be trips like that you could do.
I might do that for a Europa League game. I'm not sure that's something I'd be massively up for a pre-season friendly, but fair play to anyone who does make that journey, because that's some dedication and all.
Yeah, or take the car, ride the bike. I mean, but that's going to be the most difficult thing, isn't it? And actually, Andrew, just on the point you made about going to the biggest stadium, I mean, could there be a possibility that because it's little old Sunderland, if we do play a big side in Europe who's got a massive big stadium and they might sell, I don't know, 30,000 in a 60,000 all seater stadium or something, they might go, actually, we'll make some extra money and give Sunderland 15,000 tickets or something like that.
It would be lovely if they did. I think they'd do it once. and they'd never do it again, because when their team walks out onto the pitch and there's more Sunderland fans in the ground than home fans, are thinking, this is backfired. You spoke about like riding a bike to get to the game. You know, Jill Scott did that charity challenge. There's going to be people doing that type of thing, like traveling hundreds of miles on a bike and telling their other half, "Oh, it's not a Sunderland jolly up. It's a charity event I'm doing. I'm raising money for the foundation or something."
Raising money for the transfer kitty.
Yeah, but I'm loving the idea of just everybody just going and having like a proper good time and couple of days somewhere different. And if that means us three get to do a live Q&A pod from some random back end of nowhere, bring it on.
Yeah, we do live updates from the game, but wherever it is, it's probably going to expand the population of that city because of people who just don't actually make it home to Sunderland.
You know, if this was a documentary, the narrator would then say something like, Sunderland were drawn against Hearts in Scotland. And just kills it.
Hearts, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
Total Network Solutions. But anyway, just to do that though, I know I'm going to be having to top up on the swear jar. So there's going to be some bad language going on in my house just so I can keep sticking my quids in there and save up for the Eurofund. But anyway, we're going to leave it there for part one. We've got loads more questions to get through, but we're going to finish there for this part. So again, thank you very much to Andrew and Jonny for your time, gentlemen. Absolutely brilliant answers as always. Thanks again, everyone, for listening. Don't forget, we'll have loads more on the Roker Report website regarding the fixtures and everything else that's going on at Sunderland AFC. All being well, we'll be back for part 2 of our Q&A tomorrow, so look out for that. But from us, it's bye for now.